Good. Well, good morning and welcome to the Maryland Public Service Commission's January 24th, 2018 administrative meeting. Before I begin, I want to announce that we are going to be losing several key and highly valued members of the PSC family who are heading off to new challenges and adventures. I'm going to start by recognizing Bob McGowan, a member of the Public Utility Law Judges team, and then I'm going to turn to my colleagues, Commissioners Herman and Linton, to recognize the other departing PSC staff members. Bob McGowan is retiring February 1st after 36 years of service with the Commission. Bob joined the Commission in May 1981 and was appointed to his current position of Public Utility Law Judge in October 1991. During his more than 26 years on the bench, Bob has conducted hundreds of hearings on complex matters and issued well-reasoned, well-written proposed orders. He has also been an invaluable asset to the Commission and has provided assistance to the Commission in drafting orders in complex proceedings. Bob has also held positions as a Commission advisor and as Assistant Staff Counsel. We will certainly miss Bob's calm demeanor and thoughtful insights, and so I ask that we all join in wishing Bob all the best in his future endeavors. And I hope that that includes in continuing your world travels with Lydia. Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much. It's been a great time. We've had a great time.
Good. Would you like to make any comments? No? Okay.
Nice.
Commissioner Herman.
Thank you very much. And I know the chairman would have liked to have been here and done this himself for our very good friend Melissa Gillette, who's leaving after 6 years of service with the Commission. Marissa started as a NARUC intern and worked in the Energy Analysis and Planning Division. In 2012, she moved over to the Commission side as a Commission advisor, and since 2014 has served as senior advisor to the chairman. Marissa provided the Commission with invaluable guidance and support in the areas of Empower Maryland, offshore wind, RPS, retail supplier issue, rate cases, RGGI, and mergers. She most recently served as the work group leader for the PC44 electric vehicle and consumer choice work groups. We want to thank Marissa for her many contributions and her friendship over these years. She will be greatly missed, and we wish her success in the next chapter of her life. And we absolutely will miss you, Marissa. Thank you.
Before you leave, I'm going to say something because I didn't get a script. So, but I'm going to take the opportunity and a point of privilege to say thank you for your service. You have been an invaluable asset as an advisor, and I am certainly sorry to see you leave, and notwithstanding my efforts to change that, we wish you fair wind and following seas, as we say in the Navy, and that comes from my heart, so thank you.
If I could add also, Marissa, I want to associate myself with those comments, but also you've just been a real force for a lot of important causes in this state, and I just want to recognize your many, many achievements, and also just the incredible breadth of intelligence and knowledge you have of all the issues we deal with here. So again, I wish you well, and yes, you will be sorely, sorely missed here at the Commission.
Well, I guess I should also note that I also echo the comments of my colleagues. I've seen Marissa on her first day here at the Commission, since I was the one who interviewed her for the NARUC intern position 6 years ago. And I can recall when I offered her the opportunity, she was waiting at a bus stop. And I thought that she'd be thrilled, excited at the opportunity to come to the Commission after going through this rigorous interview process. And she just said, "Okay, thanks a lot," and hung the phone up. So it's really been a pleasure to see her truly grow and learn so much, from starting off just from a bus stop so many years ago to today, moving on to further opportunities in her career. And so, Marissa, it's been a wonderful pleasure. Thank you very much for the opportunity just to work with you and to see a career at the beginning of a pretty bright arc. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner
I
Linton?
really appreciate all the opportunities, and it's been a pleasure getting to know all of you. And I'm not going far, and I'll be in the industry, so I'm looking forward to working with each of you in the future. So we're going to leave before the twins have a meltdown. Thank you.
Commissioner Linton?
And our third commission employee that we'd like to acknowledge today is Jeff Pongsiri, who has served as a regulatory economist in the Telecommunications, Gas, and Water Division since March of 2013. He's leaving the commission to pursue another position, ironically titled Regulatory Economist, with Econometrica. The commission and the Telecommunications, Gas, and Water Division will deeply miss Jeff's work. Jeff, thank you very much for your time here, and I've also had the opportunity to work and receive counsel from you during my time here at the Commission, and I found it very valuable. And I'm sure Econometrica didn't change your title, but they're getting a good employee, so we thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say to Mr. Pongsiri, in the brief time that I've been here, his analytical skills have been excellent, and his responsiveness to my questions have been tremendous and spot on, and I appreciate it, and I wish you well. Wish you well, Jeff.
And I'd also like to add that, I agree with that, and also I appreciate your patience. There have been a number of times when I've come up and I've talked to you, and you've patiently looked at my blank face as you repeatedly try to explain some of the concepts. So, again, I wish you well also. Okay, I guess we have an AM here, too. All right, so to get started here, I would like to move we accept the minutes from the January 17th administrative meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Great, the minutes are adopted. I'd now like to recognize the Executive Secretary to present the agenda.
You got to call the vote
Oh,
on the
I'm sorry,
minutes. Call the vote.
I didn't call a vote, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Minutes are adopted.
Mr. Chairman, we have no consent agenda this morning, so we'll start with the first item on the administrative agenda. It's item number 1. It's Radford's Run Wind Farm filed an application for certification as a renewable energy facility for the Maryland Renewable Energy Portfolio Standard Program.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lloyd Spivak for the Commission staff. This is a filing by Radford's Run Wind Farm, LLC, requesting certification as a renewable energy facility under Section 20.61.02.01 of COMAR. To obtain certification, the applicant must apply on the form provided by the Commission and demonstrate that it generates electricity using either a Tier 1 or a Tier 2 resource as defined under Public Utilities Article Section 7-701, certify that it is in substantial compliance with Maryland's environmental and administrative requirements under Public Utilities Articles 7-704F, and is located in an area eligible to produce Maryland RECs as defined by Public Utilities Article 7-701. Upon certification and pursuant to the above noted requirements, the applicants must establish a REC account with PJM GATS within 30 days. Radford's Run Wind Farm is a 305.8 megawatt wind farm located in Monroe, Illinois, an area which would be eligible to produce Maryland RECs under the Public Utilities Article. The applicant has also met the other requirements for certification. Staff recommends that the Commission approve the application and issue a Renewable Energy Facility ID certification number as specified in staff's comments. The applicant must establish a REC account with PJM GATS within 30 days of certification. If the information on which the application is based should change, the applicant should be directed to file notice with the Commission within 30 days of the change.
All right, thank you. Do we have any questions?
Couple quick questions. This wind farm is in what state?
Illinois.
Illinois, and it's 304 megawatts. Is that right?
That's correct.
305,
Yeah.
almost 306 megawatts.
That's correct, Commissioner.
Just as a comment, thank you. Just as a comment, Mr. Chairman, I will continue to point this out. This represents, on an annual basis, hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million a year that is drained out of Maryland's economy. And although appropriate in accordance with the law, represents a drain on our state's economy and does not develop the renewable energy infrastructure in this state as indicated by our state policy. We're kind of bipolar in our thinking in the state, in my opinion, in that we want these aggressive renewable portfolio standards, but we pay for them not within our state and the development within our state, but we pay for them with our ratepayers' monies into other states. And I will continue to point that out until such time as I can conceive of a remedy for this situation. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Donnell. Any other questions or comments? All right. With that, is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the application and issue a renewable energy facility certification number, direct the company to establish a REC account with PJM GATS within 30 days of certification, and direct the company to file notice with the Commission within 30 days of any changes to the information in the application.
Okay, all in favor?
Is there a second?
Is there a second? I'm sorry.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is adopted.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Next item on the agenda, item number 2 is Energy Watch, Inc. filed an application for a license to supply electricity or electric generation services in Maryland.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Kenneth Albert on behalf of staff. This item addresses an application by Energy Watch, Inc. for authorization to operate as an electricity broker for commercial and industrial customers. The company has significant experience in the energy industry. We've checked with the other states, and their performance there has been satisfactory. We looked at their website, and that was satisfactory as well. They've yet to develop, though, training and marketing materials. Based on all this, staff recommends that the Commission authorize Energy Watch to operate as an electricity broker with the conditions recommended by staff.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions? If not, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move the Commission grant the company a license to operate as an electricity supplier in Maryland, limited to the broker services for the customer classes and service territories applied for and recommended by staff, and further direct the company to provide marketing and training materials specific to its Maryland operations to the Commission staff 30 days prior to utilization of the materials in Maryland, and finally, to direct the company to file notice with the Commission within 30 days of any changes to the information contained in the application.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is adopted.
Next item, item number 3 is Baltimore Gas and Electric Company filed supplement 441 to PSC G9 Rider 7. It's the gas choice and reliability charges.
By this filing, BGE proposes to decrease the GCRC rate from .0047 to .0034 for all firm distribution customers, exclusive of customers with daily metering equipment. In addition, the company proposes to decrease the rate for customers equipped with daily metering equipment electing standby service from .0043 to .0036. Finally, the company proposes to decrease the rate charged to third-party suppliers from .0121 to .0079. Under BGE's Rider 7 of the gas service tariff, the GCRC recovers costs associated with gas system capacity and gas customer choice program costs. The capacity cost component recovers the cost of the daily reserve capacity with choice after mitigation held by BGE during any November through October annual period. This component is broken down between the cost of system growth capacity and the cost of polar capacity. Although most gas choice program costs are recovered under the company's purchase of receivable rates, the company is allowed to continue to recover certain sample metering, education, and advertising costs related to the choice program under the GCRC. The GCRC calculations are based on estimated costs, the number of customers, capacity, and the mitigation amount for the current winter heating season. BGE was not able to mitigate all the costs of capacity in the current period, and those unmitigated capacity costs are those that are being asked to be recovered today. Therefore, the 2018 rates are positive. However, both the total estimated system growth and polar capacity costs after mitigation are lower than last year's estimate. Staff has reviewed the work papers submitted in support of the company's application. In particular, staff examined the calculations of the total estimated mitigated cost of firm pipeline capacity, the reconciliation component for capacity costs, and the calculation of GCRC billing rates as presented by the company. Staff has verified that the revised GCRC filed by BGE is consistent with the language of the governing settlement. Staff recommends the Commission accept BGE's proposed update to its Rider 7 GCRC for filing to become effective for the 12-month period beginning with February 2018 billings.
All right, thank you. Do we have any questions for staff? Okay, the company is present. Do you have a presentation for us?
No, Your Honor. Good morning, Commissioners. Beverly Secor for BGE. I'm just here if you have any questions for me.
Great, thank you. Any questions for the company? Great. With that, is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Unfortunately, I don't have any questions for Mr. Pongsyri on his last day, but I would move that we accept the tariff revisions for filing to become effective for the 12-month period beginning with February 2018 billings.
Great. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is adopted.
Thank you.
Last item on the agenda, item number 4 is the Retail Energy Supply Association filed a request for a waiver of COMAR 2053-0802B and 2059-0802B and C.
So there's a little history that goes with this. Effective March 14th, 2016, the Commission adopted revisions to COMAR 2053 and COMAR 2059 that included a requirement that a retail supplier's agent conducting door-to-door activities must have a criminal background check that is updated at least every 36 months. As adopted by regulation, the methodology specified for this background check was to be based on a criminal history record obtained through the Maryland Criminal Justice Information System and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, through the Maryland Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services, and similar agencies in other states of residence of an applicant within the previous year. On April 18, 2016, the Office of External Relations requested the establishment of a rulemaking session to consider certain amendments to the new criminal background check language, and also requested a waiver of the recently adopted language, provided any affected retail supplier fully implement the alternative background provisions contained in OER's proposed revised regulations, which were submitted on April 18, 2016. The waiver was to be in effect until March 31, 2017, or when the Commission adopts final regulations regarding whether and how COMAR 2053-0802B and C and COMAR 2059-0802B and C should be amended, whichever comes first. As RISA points out in its letter, it was initially anticipated that the RM54 working group would meet through early 2017 to resolve these and perhaps other issues. In the meantime, the work has been transferred to the Competitive Markets Working Group in PC 44. The criminal background issue has not yet been resolved, and staff believes the waiver should be extended under its original conditions until such time that this issue has been examined regarding the full and proper treatment to be accorded, the scope of criminal background treatments that should be accorded to agents of retail suppliers. Staff recommends that the Commission grant the requested extension of the waiver to electric and gas suppliers under COMAR 2053-0802B and C and 2059-0802B and C until July 1, 2019, or until the Commission adopts final regulations regarding whether and how these regulations should be amended, whichever comes first.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions for staff?
Quick question.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
So the waiver technically expired March 31st, 2017, correct?
Yes, you could fairly read it that way, and therefore there has been a gap in that.
And I see Mr. Green is behind you. This might be a better question for RISA. But has RISA been operating, and have the suppliers been operating under the provisions of the waiver as if it continued to exist, or has something changed that's going to change again?
Mr. Green would be able to answer that, but my guess would be yes. It would be as if the waiver had not expired.
We'll give him a shot when staff questions are done.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Commissioner Linton?
Yes, that was actually going to be one of the questions I asked. The original waiver on April 27th did have the express condition that the suppliers would continue to follow the fully implement the alternative option that was in the original filing made on April 18th. So I think the same question that Commissioner O'Donnell asked is the one that needs to be answered at this point.
Well, certainly there could be disagreement about the wording of the order. I didn't address it because of that, but I think you could actually read the wording of the order as saying this is a waiver until this time, when we think it will be, or until new regulations are adopted, whichever comes first, and new regulations on this matter have not been adopted yet, nor has there been any finality about keeping the existing regulations as is. So I think I think if you found it in your heart to overlook that gap, you could find that the original order was still in effect and the waiver was still in effect. And this is really an attempt by RISA to be sure that you're aware of this and that they have the time that they need to resolve this matter.
Okay.
Great. Any other questions for staff? Okay, thank you. Mr. Green, Risa, would you like to take a microphone?
Good morning. Brian Green for the Retail Energy Supply Association. We filed this letter asking for an extension of the waiver. We understand that under the letter order from April of 2016, the waiver was to be in effect until March of 2017, or when final regulations are adopted to address this issue, whichever comes first is what was in the Commission's letter order. There were discussions among RISA and others throughout the beginning of 2017 on this issue, and as I say in my letter, there was just confusion over who was going to file the letter with the Commission and how we were going to bring this to the Commission's attention that the waiver was about to expire at the end of March of 17. So as the summer progressed and we realized nothing had been done on it, RISA went ahead and filed the letter and asked for the extension through July of 2019, or when this is addressed. And as we say in our letter and as staff reiterated, it is being looked at by the Competitive Markets Working Group in PC 44. Our expectation is that when that report comes out, it will address this issue and provide a recommendation as to a potential rulemaking to finalize this waiver methodology. And then in answer to your questions about whether suppliers are continuing to do this, as I say in the letter that was filed in October, my understanding is that there are suppliers that continue to utilize the waiver methodology and want to continue doing so. I don't know how many, I don't know how often, and I don't know how many agents are that each supplier is doing, so forth. So I don't know details, but my understanding is, just based on conversations with various suppliers, that they are continuing to do this. And the original reason why RISA came forward and requested this waiver is because we felt like having with our members, many of our members going through these background checks on a day-in, day-out basis, that an alternative to the CGIS method was warranted in the different databases that are in the waiver that would be checked, because it, in our view, is more reliable than CGIS. It is a faster turnaround time than what you get with CGIS, and it's also not as costly to the supplier. So in today's electronic age, if you look at the waiver requirements and the databases that are checked, you're getting a Maryland local county check, you're getting a federal check, you're getting a sex offender check, and then there is a requirement for an additional national database. And one thing we've learned excuse me, through this process is that a database is only as good as the information that's fed into it. So we felt like, when someone advertises, we check a national database, we don't, you don't really know what that means. So we were very careful to spell out of the 4 databases that need to be checked what the elements are. So we asked that the waiver be extended. I believe we put through July 2019. We think that would give us ample time to address it in a rulemaking that hopefully will arise as a result of PC 44, and that we continue on as business as usual as we have since 2016.
Great.
And I'm available for any questions.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Green. Are there any questions for Risa?
Just to say, I appreciate it. I'm sure the commission appreciates Risa bringing this to our attention. I think it's also a poignant reminder to us that we have to bring resolution to this issue based on our experience with TNOs and waivers and other issues that are tangential to the issue at hand. We should all remind ourselves that we cannot kind of let this float along down the calendar again, and that we should redouble our efforts to resolve the issue permanently. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Donnell. Any other questions? Great. Does OPC wish to be heard on this matter?
Just briefly, thank you. Jacob Alcenter for the Office of People's Counsel. We filed a letter on January 22nd noting that we didn't oppose Risa's request for a waiver, but we did echo, I think, the concerns that Commissioner O'Donnell just raised, which was that at this point there are suppliers that are operating under a waiver of existing COMAR regulations under terms that the Commission has not formally adopted. While it may be the case that when the Commission does consider these proposed changes, they accept them without any changes, but it's also possible that that's not the case. And so we would share Commissioner O'Donnell's suggestion that this be resolved formally through a rulemaking, as I think was intended when the proposed changes were initially submitted to the Commission.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions for OPC? Okay, is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I move we grant the requested extension of the waiver to electric and gas suppliers of COMAR 2053-0802B and C and 2059-0802B and C until July 1st, 2019, or until the Commission adopts final regulations regarding whether and how COMAR 2053-0802B and C and 2059-0802B and C should be amended, whichever comes first.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is adopted. And with that, we are adjourned.